Hello students, welcome back to EduHub. At the outset, let me thank all my students for the overwhelming response which means so much to me. In this video, before we get on with the 6 more figures of speech, I would like you all to take a test. In my previous video, you have been taught 6 figures of speech. Just in case, if you have not watched my previous video, please click on the link in the description box below. Now students, pause here and take a test. Give your answers in the comment section. Number 1. They speak like saints and act like devils. 2. Oh, solitude, where are the charms that sages have seen in thy face? 3. Peace comes dropping slow. 4. He fought like a lion in the battle. 5. Many are called, but few are chosen. 6. The news was a dagger to his heart. 7. Remember when 4G cell phones were a new innovation. Now, in this video, we'll be learning these following figures of speech: onomatopoeia, anaphora, assonance, repetition, alliteration, and litotes. Now, what is onomatopoeia? Onomatopoeia is that which indicates or evokes the actual sound of the object or a thing they refer to or describe. That is known as onomatopoeia. Example: ringing bells, roaring lion, hissing snake, chirping birds, gurgling water, gushing waterfall, ticking watch, car stopping with a screech. So these words indicate the sound or the object. Okay, now when I say ringing bells, ringing gives the sound. It's the sound of the bells that which is being indicated. So this is how onomatopoeia can be identified. Anaphora. When the word or words are repeated at the beginning of the lines, then it is called anaphora. It is used by the poet to give a sound effect. Now students, let us understand this definition in a better way with the help of examples. Example number 1. Everything looked dark and gloomy. Everything looked bleak. Everything was under blanket of mist. Now students, here you observe that the word everything is repeated in all the 3 lines. So when there is a word which is being repeated in the beginning of a sentence, you identify it as anaphora. Okay, now let's move on to the next example. I want my money right now, right here, all right? Now in this sentence, in these lines, you observe that the word right is being repeated. Now why do you think the author or the poet repeats the word? To give an emphasis or to captivate the reader. Okay, to arrest the attention of the reader, anaphora is being used. Assonance. When 2 or more words close to one another repeat the same vowel sound but start with a different consonant sounds, it is said to be assonance. Now students, this definition also let us try and understand with the help of an example. Men sell the wedding bells. Now you observe that the vowel sound E in a very short interval or in a very short time span is being repeated, although it follows the consonant. Okay, now let's go to the next example. Go and mow the lawn. In this example also, the vowel sound O is repeated immediately. Okay, there's not much interval between go and mow. So that gives a kind of musical effect to the sentence. Now this is also to draw the attention of the reader or to make some emphasis and to give a musical effect. The poets use this as a poetic device. One more example. I feel depressed and restless. Now in this you see that the vowel sound of E is repeated immediately. Feel depressed. Okay, so this is how assonance can be understood. Repetition. When in the lines word or a phrase is repeated, it is said to be repetition. Now students, here the word itself is a bit self-explanatory, but then why do you think the poet uses this? To make an emphasis or to put his foot down and convey his expression or opinion, poet uses this as a poetic device. Now let's take an example. And miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. This is a very popular line from the poem uh, Stopping by the Woods on a Snowy Evening, written by Robert Frost, an American poet. Now, here the poet is trying to say that he has many things to do before he goes to sleep, or rather sleep here indicates even his death. So before dying he wishes to complete many of his commitments. So that is what the poet is trying to say. Miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. So to make an emphasis, it is being repeated. Now in the second example, let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. Third, a horse is a horse, of course, of course. So here also you see that the words or the phrases rather are being repeated to make an emphasis. Alliteration. Now students, this is one more interesting figures of speech. Let's try and understand this definition followed by examples. When series of words, usually two or more neighboring words, have the same first consonant sound, it is said to be alliteration. For example, Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Now you see this that in this sentence the consonant P is repeated often, very often, to give a musical effect. These are also called tongue twisters. Now let's move on to the next. She sells seashells down by the seashore. Third, black bug bit the big black bear. So you observe that the consonant B is repeated here, and in the second sentence the consonant S is repeated. Litotes. It is a form of ironic understatement. This is, students, exactly the opposite of hyperbole. It refers to negation of one quality to emphasize its opposite. Now, in case of hyperbole, it is an overstatement, but litotes is just the opposite, that is understatement. Example, it wasn't a terrible trip. That means it was a good trip. He wants to say that, but he's using the negative to give a, more, to convey something more effectively. She's not unkind, not too shabby. Thank you for watching my video, students.